Welcome to Coach's Corner on Beaver County Radio. Tonight's show will also be live streamed on our Facebook page at WBVP-WMBA. Coach's Corner is brought to you by Junction Auto Service, McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Geneva College, Fish's New Brighton Foodland and Beaver Falls Save-A-Lot, the Community College of Beaver County, the J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. Now let's take it to our host for tonight's edition of Coach's Corner on Beaver County Radio.
And a pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to edition number 2 of the Coach's Corner here from the St. Barnabas studio here on 7th Avenue in Beaver Falls. I'm Bob Barrickman. Last week, John Parado, longtime columnist for sports, baseball, football, you name it, basketball, but he made his debut on Beaver County Radio, WBVP and 99.3 FM. And it was Beaver Falls and Blackhawk. This week, we have a coach who made his debut last week as a head coach. He's been an assistant at various schools, but Tony Caltury, to my left, we're going to be talking to Tony in a moment. John, your thoughts, Blackhawk, Beaver Falls. Beaver Falls got 22 in the first half. Didn't need to score in the second half. Their defense was pretty good, and Blackhawk is a team that you know they're going to get better, but they showed signs of inexperience.
Yeah, they really did, and Beaver Falls took advantage of that in the first half. You could tell they came out a little bit more ready, I wouldn't say ready, more confident as a more veteran team and knowing what they were doing. And, they didn't have Singleton, their top wide receiver, and that, their passing game was a click off all night, but they still scored 22 points. They took control of the game early, and, everyone justifiably talks about Beaver Falls' offense, but I was really impressed by their defense. They did a great job. They forced, I believe, 6 turnovers Blackhawk ended up with. But on the flip side, Blackhawk, it was a tough 3 quarters for them, but they did show they could move the ball in the fourth quarter, and it was still against the first-team defense of Beaver Falls. So that gives them something positive to build on when they watch the film this week and get ready to play again this Friday. So it wasn't, a total loss of a night. They were able to walk off the field on a positive note. And like you said, I think they'll win their share of ball games this year. They just ran into one of the better teams in the WPIL on opening night.
And your alma mater got the victory on WMBA. Western Beaver makes the trip to Beaver and wins by almost identical score, by 20-7, and kind of a game that went like ours. A lot of periods, a lot of times when there wasn't any scoring, but Western Beaver was opportunistic, and they get the W, and that's a promising win for Ron Busby, the head coach, because Beaver's a 3A team.
They are, and a good 3A team, a team that's going to win their share of games this season. And it's a real good start for Western Beaver, no doubt. They, they kind of condensed their scoring into a little period there in the second quarter, but, they had control of the game pretty much all night, and that's a good sign for a AA team to go on the road, no less, against a team of class higher and a quality team of class higher, and not only play well, but win. That's got to be a good confidence boost for a team that, like you said, has very high hopes this year.
Well, John, you and me will be at Central Valley Friday night. Now, Central Valley, the 2-time defending state champions, they've won a county record 28 in a row, extending that streak last Friday night in the easy win over Trinity. And Avonworth, a team that Central Valley used to be in within 3A and handled the Antelopes pretty easily, but Avonworth comes off a victory over Grove City, which was in the top 5 in the state of Pennsylvania in 3A. So, I don't know. I'm sure Avonworth is licking its chops. That'll be a 6:30 airtime from Central Valley on Friday night. So that could be an interesting one.
It should be. Central Valley got off to a good start, beating Trinity 43-20, and Fitzsimmons had 3 touchdowns in that game. But Avonworth has to feel good about itself. Like you said, they beat a good Grove City team from District 10, one of the better teams in District 10 in the opener. And, Avonworth, they're going to be hungry. I mean, Center's won 2 straight state titles, 3 straight WPIL titles. So everyone wants to beat them.
Right.
I mean, there's a little extra incentive with every team they play. And, I had a chance to talk to the Mark Lions on Sunday night a little bit. We were at the same table at the Beaver County Sports Hall of Fame dinner, so we got a chance to catch up. And he, and it wasn't just coaches just being, too cautious.
Right.
You could tell, I mean, he knows that Avonworth has a good team, and he knows it's going to be a really good test for Central Valley on Friday night. It should be a good ball game.
Oh, it definitely will be. And on WNBA, they got the later start again, 7 p.m. airtime at Freedom. Bulldogs coming off a win over Quaker Valley, and Ambridge competitive under Sherman McBride, now in year 2 at the helm, losing to Wheeling Central Catholic. But the scores are getting narrower, even though the wins may not be that frequent. And I know Sherman's going to turn that around too. But it seems like they're at least in games more these days.
They are. They've become much more competitive. And I think, I've known Sherman McBride forever, all the years he played and then coached at Aliquippa. And I'm not surprised. I knew Sherman, he's a good coach. He's a well-organized guy. He's a good motivator. And I thought if somebody could step into that situation and get that program turned around, it's Sherman. And he really has already. They won a couple games last year. They were much more competitive in their losses than they'd been the previous few years. And Wheeling Central Catholic, though a single-A school in the state of West Virginia, they won 3 state titles in the last 5 years in West Virginia. So this is a really, really good single-A program they played against. So, it's no shame to lose to that team on opening night, a veteran team that's coming off a state title.
Before we bring in the new head coach of the New Brighton Lions, we'll have those 2 games Friday. Geneva, Matt Dursick, who's producing tonight's show, along with Zach Boswell. Matt will be on College Hill, I'm sure. Geneva, year number 30. I didn't mean to date you and me, but this is his 30th season as the head football coach at Geneva. They take on Worcester. Bruce Fry will join me for a coverage of that game. 7 p.m. airtime, 7:30 kickoff.
It is hard to believe that it's 30 years already for Gino DeMarco. It doesn't seem that long since Gene Sullivan retired and Gino took his place. That's quite a milestone in today's coaching. I mean, it's hard to stay in one place for that long. There's, even at the small college level, you get some pressure if you have a couple bad years. They want to make a change. Gino's had a lot more good years than bad years at Geneva, and nobody cares more about Geneva College on that campus than Gino DeMarco. And I mean, you talk about a guy that puts his heart and soul in it. Maybe a little too much, Gino. You might want to calm down a little. It's Gino, and he's a real treasure for that college. And sometimes I worry they take him for granted there on College Hill, and I hope the administration really understands what he means to that college and what he means to that football program, and most importantly, the kids in that football program.
Well, a milestone year for Gino DeMarco. As we continue the Coach's Corner from the St. Barnabas studio, let's bring in the new head coach of the New Brighton Lions, Tony Caltury. Tony, I was a little surprised. I wasn't getting any vibrations at all that Coach Joe Greco would step down after 24 years at New Brighton, non-consecutive, but still a total of 24. Now, I know you worked at the courthouse and the commissioner's office, and I have a part-time job there, and we would chat now and then. You had assistant coaching jobs at like Western Beaver and Central Valley and Aliquippa and what have you. But we never really talked about New Brighton. All of a sudden, I read the article in the Beaver County Times. Joe Greco resigns after 24 years. Tony Caltury gets the head job. Was it kind of a surprise, or did you kind of know that, did you have an inkling that Coach Greco was going to step down, and that was a job you were interested in?
No, actually, it was a complete shock. I'm also the president of the MAC Coaches Association, and when he made the announcement to our association, I think the other 21 head coaches in the room were just as shocked as I was. I think he's still a young man. I'm still going to call him a young man, and has the energy. But for whatever reason, to spend more time with his family, he decided to hang it up. and I jumped at the opportunity to apply for that position. And I'm very fortunate to be selected as the head coach, but very fortunate that I still have Coach Grieco as the athletic director, because he's always a phone call away or text away when I need some guidance or some advice, or what did you do in this situation. So I'm very thankful. He didn't just wash his hands and say it's your program. He's still one of my mentors that I can lean on.
And did you have aspirations all along of being a head coach, or did this kind of come up suddenly with the New Brighton situation?
I think I've always had aspirations, but it had to be the right fit for me, and I thought New Brighton was that. New Brighton as a school district and the communities of New Brighton reminded me of the town I grew up in, Monaca High School. So a lot of tough-nosed kids there, and I thought I could relate to those best. So, yeah, did I want to be a head coach? Yeah. But it had to be the right spot, and I thought this definitely was a great opportunity for me.
Tony, I know you told reporters, the Beaver County Times in particular, in the preseason before the first game, that you tailored some of your approach, some of the things you like to do, some of your philosophies to the talent you have on hand at New Brighton. Was it a big change in philosophy, or how were you able to implement?
I think it was a big change in philosophy based off the verbiage that we use and play calling and the kids learning the system. I got in there, got hired at the end of April. So it was a quick turnaround. We got right into spring ball in late May, so it was hitting the ground running. So that's the biggest learning curve for both me learning the kids and the kids learning the system, and me trying to figure out how to tailor an offense and defense to best fit their best abilities.
Who did you bring with you tonight to the coach's corner?
So I brought Kyler Rumbold. He's a team captain. He's a free safety, strong safety on defense, and then a jack of all trades on offense. You're going to see him play wide receiver, running back, and I wouldn't be shocked down the line to see him take some snaps under center.
All right, we're going to take our first time out here at the Coach's Corner. We want to thank Pizza Joe's, as they do it every week, excuse me, for many, many years, providing the refreshments, pizza, and Goodwill on 3rd Street in Beaver. When we come back, we'll talk to Tony about his first assignment last week, his upcoming game, and talk about his team in general. The new head coach of the New Brighton Lions, Tony Caltury, will continue our conversation with the coach after this timeout on WBVP WNBA 99.3 FM 95.7 and Facebook Live.
Did you know Fisher's New Brighton Foodland is as close as a click? That's right. If you're watching or listening to this broadcast online, open up a new window and click GroceryStoreNewBrighton.com and start shopping right now. Fill your grocery order from New Brighton Foodland and follow Beaver County High School football all at the same time. What could be better? Fill your shopping cart up without ever leaving the sidelines. Visit GroceryStoreNewBrighton.com.
Are you in high school and thinking about your future, or know someone who is? Consider Geneva College. Geneva is a Christian college that prepares students for meaningful service and their life's work. Geneva has over 145 majors and programs, 18 varsity sports, 100 study abroad programs, and lots of club activities. And Beaver County scholarships help to make a Geneva education affordable. Learn more by visiting geneva.edu. That's geneva.edu.
Carver Construction in New Brighton is proud of all of our local football teams. They know what it takes to be a winner. It takes dedication, talent, and desire to do your best. All the things Carver Construction offers its customers. They've been doing it since 1982 for both residential and commercial renovations. Carver Construction, 1090 3rd Avenue in New Brighton. Building dreams one home at a time. Call 724-847-1572 or visit their website, carverconstructionpa.com.
No matter what the circumstances, no matter the reason, one of the few things that is left when a loved one passes on are the memories. Staging those memories in an honoring way is one of the reasons so many people have chosen J&J Spratt Funeral Home. A person's legacy depends on a lifetime of accomplishments and then how they are remembered. J&J Spratt Funeral Home has helped start the process of creating positive legacies for over 70 years. Visit jjsprattfh.com. Joseph M. Spratt, Supervisor and Funeral Director.
McGee Heating and Air Conditioning in Aliquippa has been in business for nearly 60 years. Now that's experience you can count on when you call McGee Heating and Air Conditioning at 724-375-7112. They'll answer your call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Sue Curlin and her winning team service most brands, and McGee Heating and Air Conditioning is locally owned and operated. As always, they wish their best to our local teams. McGee Heating and Air Conditioning, Main Street, Aliquippa.
I can usually get out of
Press
stuff,
eject,
but not
yeah.
this one. Yeah.
And we return to the Coach's Corner here on Beaver County Radio and our Facebook Live page. And we've been here now for 3 years in the studio, the St. Barnabas studio. John Perrotto, Bob Barrickman, Matt Dursick, Zach Boswell running the controls, and the man to my left, Tony Caltury, the new head coach of the New Brighton Lions. Well, Tony, I know it wasn't the debut that you wanted to have, but you knew going in Laurel, which won the MAC in 2A last year, drops to 1A. I guess that's the good news. You don't have to worry about playing them in a game that makes a difference in the standings. But supposedly they lost a good bit to graduation. Now, you'd probably be fooled by looking at them last Friday night. You took it on the chin, 63-7. How good is this Laurel team, and are they a serious threat in 1A?
I think they're most definitely a serious threat, right? The good programs around us always just reload, and the same principles from year to year get passed on. And that's something that, watching the film Saturday, I showed our team that, like, what a disciplined, solid football team looks like, the approach, alignment, and everything like that. Brian Cooper up there is a great football coach, and he's got his kids ready to play every single time, and it sees how they approach every aspect of the game. So I think they are a true threat in single A.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, and you kind of answered the question I was going to ask. Obviously it's a tough loss to start the year, but it doesn't count in the stand. The division standing or the conference standings. I mean to say, how do you take that with the kids as far as looking at the film and trying to draw some positives and trying to illustrate where you can get better out and not be kind of woe is me, we got beat 63-7, and stay positive?
Yeah,
through
absolutely.
Something like
You got to find the positives in the film. There's a lot that we did right. But I think looking at Laurel and comparing us to where Laurel is, that's an eye-opener for us, both our staff and our players, and comparing us to other solid football teams around. I think in the post-game huddle I said, guys, the staff made as much mistakes as you guys did, and that's something. We have 9 new players on offense and defense seeing the first time varsity reps, and going against a team like that, an established program, was a tall task to start week 0, but I think we learned more than it hurt us.
Your quarterback last year, when Coach Grieco was still there, Gabe Haddix, got hurt, season-ending injury midway through the season, and they bring in the young sophomore, I think it was Gary Pugh. And Gary was starting to show development. And in fact, what a huge win. New Brighton beating previously undefeated Washington in the first round of the playoffs last year. But I guess Gary's unavailable till maybe, next month? Tell us about his situation.
Yeah, so Gary, and something we preach across our program, is take care of the things in the classroom first. So Gary's still fighting that battle a little bit, but ever since I've taken over, he's been a great pleasure to be around. He's positive around the kids, and we're excited for his return. He's doing a great job to take care of the things he needs to outside of football to make sure he can be the best player on the field he can be. But as we always say, and I tell the kids all the time, you got to handle that stuff outside in your family and the classroom before I can put you on the field.
Who did get to start behind center, and how would you grade his performance?
That would be Brian Taylor. He's a junior as well. He's also started strong safety. I think the game speed caught up to him a little bit. I think he learned and committed over this last week to learn from his mistakes, and I think he'll be ready to go for this Friday night.
I was going to say, when you look back, and I know last year, different coaches, different coaching staff, but when you have kids back from that team, even though a lot of them were reserves last year, when they go down and they beat a team like Wash High in the playoffs, how much confidence do you think carries over for the rest of their time in high school, knowing, hey, we could go beat one of the best teams in the WPIL, so we're capable of beating anyone?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think our kids learn from that playoff experience what it takes to beat a good team. I think it can build momentum into an off-season program that I wasn't a part of. Hopefully to be a part of that off-season program coming off a big playoff victory. But I think just being around and seeing what it takes to play high-level football in early and late November goes a long way for an entire program. Not only I'm thankful for the practices, that we got 2 extra weeks of practices, the freshman and sophomore, that they normally won't get. And I think when you look at schools like Aliquippa and Central Valley going deep in the playoffs, you forget you're winning championships, but are also their freshmen and sophomore are getting 5, 6, 7 more weeks of practice to develop.
Tony Caltury, the new coach at New Brighton, our special guest. Tony, when you take over a program, any holdovers from Coach Joe Grieco's staff, any new coaches on the staff? Tell us about the staff you put together at New Brighton.
So I'm very fortunate. I got some carryover from the staff. They did so much good over the last 5 to 10 years at New Brighton. I was sure to reach out to them to see if they want to be continued build at New Brighton. I think it was important. We got Harry Girding, Kyle Fabianic, and John Proano over the last several years, have been a part of the program, and they're educating me on some of the traditions of New Brighton that I don't know about. Started with the jug game. I didn't know what the jug game was before I took the job. Now I'm jug or bust, right? But it's important. But I also brought some new faces in and guys I trust, and I've been around with Jake Turley and Brandon DeFelice and Mike Riddleman, who are high-quality individuals. So I thought it was very important to surround myself with some experience in the district, but experience that I'm used to, and surround myself with guys with high character and morals to better our program.
You have a team coming up next week, or this Friday, I'm sorry, in Hopewell. You go to Tony Dorsett Stadium. So your second road game before you get to come home to play another longtime rival in Rochester, a game that will carry on Beaver County Radio next Friday night. But you play a Hopewell team that's been sputtering too. They've kind of quietly lost 12 games in a row. They lost all 9 games last year, the 2 at the end of the previous season, and then last week, not a good game from a Hopewell perspective. It was 40-0. Southside could be a very interesting team to watch in 1A. How do you approach this game? You got a team that's chomping at the bit. They want to break their losing streak at the expense of your club.
Yeah, so absolutely. I think the first thing we did as a staff and a program is we looked how to fix ourselves, right? We watched the Hopewell film. We got their tendencies, and we think we're going to put our kids in the best possible situation, but we also got to worry about ourselves, the fundamentals that we didn't do well last Friday night. So I think fixing ourselves first, but I think Hopewell's in the same boat as us as they watch our film and seeing us lose 63-7, that they're looking at a chance to turn their program, get some momentum, and come out. So I think an early start fast start for either team could build a lot of confidence for 2 young teams.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a good matchup, and again, going up against a team in a higher class, now you kind of go to the other spectrum. You played a 1A team, which is not really a 1A team. They play like a 4A team. I mean, they're a very good 1A team. What is that like? Even though Hopewell is kind of in rebuilding mode, building their program back up, What's the challenge of stepping up up one class and having to play a game like this?
I think it's just roster size. I
Yeah.
think we have 37 kids on the roster, and I believe they're in the high 40s and low 50s, and they just the larger pool. But one thing about stepping up in class, it's starting to build the Beaver County rivalries. I love our schedule this year because it's a lot of Beaver County schools. We're playing Hopewell out of conference, playing Rochester out of conference, and the surrounding areas of Lawrence County. We're not traveling very far for any away game. So I like the renewed rivalries, and in this case, New Brighton and Hopewell haven't played in many years. So,
Well, that was the next point. Have they ever played? I won't go on record as saying never. Maybe somebody can call us on the Falcone's Moon Township Ford wrap-up show and give us an idea. Have you recalled New Brighton and Hopewell? I have not. But if it's the first game, so be it. And I would imagine, I don't know if your career in football ever touched with Matt Weiss out of Rochester, the head coach at Hopewell. But I'm sure you know Matt quite well.
yeah, I know Matt quite well. He's very knowledgeable. He was a couple years older than me. That vaunted Monaco-Rochester rivalry, he got the better of us for several years. But I've known him through the coach ranks. I was fortunate a couple years back. We coached the Penn Ohio All-Star Game. That's what's great about our MAC Coaches Association. We have a lot of overlap with all the coaches in the association. We get to build and really learn from each other.
We're going to take our next time out. After this break, we're going to bring in the senior captain, Kyler Rumbold of the New Brighton Lions. He'll join us here on the Coach's Corner on WBVP WMBA 99.3 and 95.7 FM.
There's no place like Community College of Beaver County. Confidence happens here. Connection happens here. Opportunity happens here. Your best you happens here. Your future happens here. Home is here. At CCBC, you're right where you need to be to find real learning for real life. And there's still time to join us. Enroll now through October 14th for fall mini-mesters. Same classes, less time. Visit ccbc.edu/fall. You belong here.
It's football season, and if you can see the Aquaman of Beaver County heading deep on a fly route to the end zone, it shouldn't surprise you. This is Jim Riggio, the Aquaman of Beaver County from the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. Why, you ask? It's obvious. Going deep or the full distance for our customers, no matter what we are up against, is in our game plan. Now, what isn't quite so simple is getting my web feet into a pair of those cleats. This is the Aquaman from the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority. And looky here, I'm wide open that is, to doing whatever it takes to serve you. Click bfwater.net.
Scoring big at dinner doesn't necessarily have to mean getting the score run up on your family food budget. Level the playing field by shopping at Beaver Falls Save-A-Lot. There's a reason why they say your dollar goes far at Save-A-Lot. Maybe it's time to switch teams, and while you plan for a big playoff run, head out on a grocery store run. Even when time is running out, being able to park close to the door and find what you need in an instant without wading through a maze of aisles makes Beaver Falls Save-A-Lot the right call.
All right, one of our producers tonight is a New Brighton grad, Zach Boswell. Matt Dursick from Beaver Falls. Coach Caltury brought it up earlier about the jug game. I hope there's no fisticuffs between Dursick and Boswell when Beaver Falls plays New Brighton in a few weeks. Let's hope not. But let's talk to one guy who knows a little bit about the jug game. Senior captain Kyler Rumbold. There's a lot of Rumbolds at New Brighton, and I was thinking, he had to have a brother or two play. But you say no, you just had a sister who cheered. Is that right, Kyler?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell us what's your role with the Lions?
I think of myself as a leader to keep the team together. If we ever fall down like we did at Laurel, just try to build everyone back up instead of tearing everyone down.
What positions do you play on both sides of the line?
I play strong safety, free safety. On the offensive side of the ball, I play running back, slot, receiver, maybe quarterback.
What's that like to have to know all the different positions? I mean, that's I know it's hard to know the plays at one position and to have to know the offense from various positions. What's that? How much studying does that cause?
Yeah, it's a lot, but I've had a great coaching staff to help me through it and to walk me through it after practice and before practice to just make sure I know everything.
Kyler, the transition. Coach Grieco, you played for him for 3 years, and now you have a new coach in Tony Caltury. Was there an adjustment period for you and maybe your teammates going from a veteran head coach to one who's in his first year?
I think the biggest challenge was the plays and how he coached and just to keep up with his pace. It was a whole new playbook, and we were used to the same plays as Grieco's, so it was a big change going from his scheme to Coach Caltury's.
It was obviously a rough opening night with Laurel, and you said you were a leader. How do you guys kind of just put that behind and say, hey, it's one game and we still have a lot of season left?
We kind of just pretty much try to just take it on the chin as an eye-opener to what we have to do better and how we have to work harder than we already were.
What would you say were any positives, if you could point out one or two, even though the score might have suggested none, but I'm sure you could at least look and say, hey, we did this good, but we have to do that better.
Yeah, I think we held each other together. We held each other accountable, but I think we still, even though we made a mistake, just keep building them up instead of tearing them down, as I said, and just don't let last week's affect this week.
Coach, I know you rely a lot on guys like Kyler Rumble because you do have a very young team. I don't think there are too many SRs on the New Brighton roster.
We have 6 total seniors, but I rely heavily on guys like Kyler, who both can lead on the field by putting kids in the correct spot, whether change their alignment, and also knowing how each player ticks and how to motivate them in practice to make sure they're doing the right thing and giving maximum effort and doing the right things in the classroom as well. We put a lot on our leaders. We not just say you're a leader on the football field, but it starts you're a leader in the community and in the classroom. So I think football sets the tone for the school year, and I trust that we're going to have a good school year with leaders like Kyler.
Kyler, it seems like a winnable game if you go by Hopewell's result. I'm sure you guys would be excited. Hopefully Coach Caltury will have a lot of wins at New Brighton before he's through. But that would be something for you guys to get him his first win. Let's talk about Friday night's game.
As much as you guys were saying how they haven't had a win in a while, we can't take it as it should just be a pushover. We got to take it as it's Washington High, first round of the playoffs. We got to take them as they're the best competitor we'll play all year, just to solidify that we're going to win this game.
Kyler, best of luck to you on Friday night. I have a feeling it's going to be a much closer game. You get to play. You're a little bit too young, but I'm sure you have at least heard of the name of Tony Dorsett, who won the Heisman Trophy, won a national championship, won a Super Bowl. That's got to be a little bit neat, if you don't mind, going to a stadium with so much history and maybe, arguably, the greatest football player ever in Beaver County, and Tony Dorsett.
Yeah, it's cool to play on that field. I don't think I've never been there besides track meets, so it's nice to be there and just feel the history and the turf and just be in the presence of that field.
Good luck Friday night.
Thank you.
Kyler Rumble joining us here on the Coach's Corner. Tony, being in your first year, but you've been an assistant for a while, who are a couple people outside of family, and we're going to talk about family in a moment, but who are maybe some of the people in the game of football or just in general who's influenced you as a person and as a football coach?
I think the two biggest one was, first off, my high school football coach was Sean McCreary. He's also our school principal. He's still the high school principal at Central Valley. He's such a good, positive role model, great person. He's someone that outside of me graduating high school, I've continued that relationship just because he had such a strong impact. And yes, we talk a lot of football, but he also helps me, give me guidance on how to mold young men and women the right way. The other one's obviously Coach Mark Lyons, giving me an opportunity as a young man to coach football and entrusting me, empowering me to help make decisions. And I've learned so much from those two individuals. I can't thank them enough. And they're part of the reason I wanted to continue coaching. I think the coaching, we're trying to find more coaches, but those guys like that really empowered me and motivated me to be a coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, coming from Monaca, and like you said, it's a hard-nosed town, hard-nosed kids, and you were one of them, you played there. And you go into a town like New Brighton, very similar. What do you take from your values you learned at Monaca over the years playing for Sean and being in the town and kind of transfer that into your own program?
I think the number one thing is community pride. I see that in the support we get at New Brighton through our program, through our booster organizations. I've gotten so many messages on Facebook or numbers I don't have that text me just wishing me good luck, giving them updates. I think the whole community is behind our program, and that it's very similar to Monaca. In Monaca, the whole town shut down on Friday nights. And I think we're going to do the same thing on Friday nights on Oak Hill. It's going to be the epicenter of the district, and everyone's behind us, and we're all going in the same direction, and we're all pulling for the success of the kids. And I don't think, and I haven't seen, we're positive energy around the whole thing. There's not any detractors. Even after a tough loss, we had so many people walking off the field Thursday night, keep our heads up. Yeah. Wishing us luck and telling us good job. So I think that's very similar and stuff that I love in the program, and the community pride is huge.
Tony, you knew coming into the year that it was going to be a huge challenge. It wouldn't matter if you were stacked with returning players and D1 athletes to be in the conference that you're in with the Beaver Fallses and the Shaniks of the world wouldn't be easy. But with an inexperienced club trying to deal with the competition in the Midwestern Athletic Conference, it's got to make you grow as a coach. It's only going to make you better, I would think, learning with an inexperienced club in a very tough MAC.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no easy weeks in our conferences. We have so many good head coaches, whether it be Nick Nardone, Ron Busby at Western Beaver. Nishanik has a great staff. So it's a challenge for our coaches alone scouting. We spend Saturday afternoons and Sunday evenings on the dry erase board scheming up, and it's just so impressive. I have so much respect for all the other coaches in our conference and the creativity they have and just the programs they're building. And there's no easy weeks for us. I know that. I know I tell the players to worry about themselves and being the best they can be, and it's our job as the coaches to put them in those spots where they can succeed.
We're going to take our next time out, our final time out here from the St. Barnabas studio on 7th Avenue, Beaver Falls. Thanks again to Pizza Joe's. We're going to send Kyler Rumbold. He could use a little bit more pizza tonight. And thanks to the fine folks from Pizza Joe's on 3rd Street in Beaver. Appreciate your support for all these years. We're going to take our final time out here on Beaver County Radio and Facebook Live.
Get your furnace tuned up and fall into savings. Just call Keller Heating and Cooling now through the end of November and get $250 off a new system. A new Daikin system features up to a 12-year warranty. Keller Heating and Cooling is locally founded, Beaver County based, and family owned, serving Beaver County and surrounding areas. Keller firmly believes in supporting small businesses which help the community they call home. Whatever your HVAC needs, call Keller Heating and Cooling, 412-628-2207.
You can run out and buy a new car if you can find one or afford one, or you can take good care of the one you have. Take it from Steve at Junction Auto Service. It's all about maintenance. A lot of things have changed in the past few years, but taking care of your car isn't one of them. Now more than ever before, it makes good sense to maintain the vehicle you have. And nobody does it better than Junction Auto. Mention you heard this ad and get 10% off any visit. Visit junctionautoservice.com or stop by their location at 425 Constitution Boulevard, New Brighton.
There's no place like Community College of Beaver County.
Confidence happens here.
Connection happens here. Opportunity happens here. Your best you happens here. Your future happens here. Home is here. At CCBC, you're right where you need to be to find real learning for real life. And there's still time to join us. Enroll now through October 14th for fall mini-mesters. Same classes, less time. Visit ccbc.edu/fall. You belong here.
All right, returning to the Coach's Corner, our final segment with new coach Tony Caltury at New Brighton. And Coach, during the break you mentioned you're going to be starting 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores. Maybe a little bit too early to gauge how far they're going to come along. But are you excited about some of the youth in your program?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can't be more excited about the freshman and sophomore classes that we got going. They're going to get experience on the fly. They're going to make the mistakes, but I just asked them to make fast, aggressive mistakes. We'll fix it on film, right? But we're super excited. The potential's there. It's just harnessing it, playing it within a scheme, and getting to the speed of varsity football. Some of these guys haven't even got junior varsity football reps. They're going straight from middle school to varsity reps.
Yeah, I was going to say with such a young team, I'm sure, and it's early in the season, so you're still a long way to go, but I'm sure it would be rewarding, I would imagine, even just from practice in the first couple weeks, to see some of the development of some of the younger players and see kind of the light bulb go on in their head, like, okay, now he's starting to get what we're trying to do here.
That's what I told the freshman class and the guys that are going to be playing for us. I said, the coach is probably going to believe that you can do it before you self to believe it. But it's so rewarding seeing the growth from day to day and that click where, whether it be alignment or them picking up a check or, hey, this actually works. So we're excited about that, obviously.
Tony Caltury with us. Tony, unlike many coaches who are maybe teachers in the school district or administrators, you're not. I mean, you're the recreation director now at for Beaver County, and before then you were working in the commissioner's office in the courthouse. With that being said, do you get to spend quality time in the building, or is it very tough, or do you just have to see your kids when it's practice time?
I try to make a point to get over there, but it's been great. The administration, whether it be Coach Grieco giving me a heads up, or the administration, Ryan Yates and assistant principal Bobby Badaki giving me updates on what the players need to be. Towards the end of last year, during the recruiting season, I was going in to meet with some college coaches and getting transcripts. So would I love to be in the school more? Yeah, but I think we got a great support staff who keeps me updated, whether it be the secretary sending me the attendance sheet first thing in the morning, or it's the principals giving me a call, or our teachers saying this person needs work or not. So I think the support from that end's there too. They're not just leaving me out to dry and me figure it out when I get there at 3 o'clock.
How important is it to build those relationships? Obviously, all new kids to you. You're new to the kids. And I know you had some spring practice and camp and now the first game. But how important is that as a coach to build those personal relationships so there's that trust there, that you trust them, they trust you kind of deal?
That's vital. I think I came in, they had to learn me as much as I had to learn the things that they do well. And I think having that personal relationship with the players, I think you'll do a lot more with a person that you're going to trust than if you don't trust them. I just come in as a tyrant yelling nonstop. So I think building those personal relationships, like I said, Sean McCreary, I have that personal relationship 15 years after high school, and I said, he always said, once a coach, always a coach. So that's something I look to build with our players as well, that 10 years they're going to see me and be able to reach out to me at any time.
Your dad, Tony, long time contributor to high school sports. You had mentioned, and I remember now, that he was the public address announcer for Monaca football games. And back in the spring, you got hired in late April, and obviously you're excited, the opportunity. Your dad had to be glowing that his proud son got a head coaching job. You realized your dream.
Oh, yeah. He my family's always been super supportive, and he taught us and raised us. He was a part of the '83 championship team at Monaca, and if I had to watch any more of those films, I know every single play of that year. But he was so excited for the opportunity, and him and the rest of my family were going to be huge New Brighton fans. He gets to go. My brother on the pit staff got to go to the pit games on Saturday, and was going to get a chance to come to the New Brighton games on Friday.
That's right, Adam. He's on the pit staff. What's his position?
He's
now?
the director of recruiting for the Panthers. He's in his third year, so they got a big one tomorrow night.
Oh yes, and we'll have that game on Beaver County Radio. I believe that's a 5 p.m. airtime, 7 p.m. kickoff from Acrisure Stadium. Let's get back to your dad. He was a big supporter of yours, and unfortunately, shortly thereafter, he passes away. And the emotional loss, needless to say, is there, and it will be there for the rest of your life. How do you deal with that? I mean, you had such the joy of being named the head coach, and then shortly thereafter, you lose one of the most important people in your life and your father, and you still have to keep your one eye focus on, hey, I got my own program. I can't just dissolve of it. I have to stay focused, even though you're going through a very, very tough personal loss. How did you deal with that?
I think just surrounding myself with being around the team was awesome. It was one of the coolest moments of the viewing. Majority of the players came and supported me, so that was a huge uplift. And just being around and pressing forward and instilling some of the stuff he taught me onto the kids is how I can carry on his legacy, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, going back to Monaca for a second, I remember years and years ago, our old friend Sam LaFosso, who coached at Monaca many years ago, once told me, pound for pound, and Sam was a Monaca guy, so he could say it, there's no other town in America quite like Monaca, Pennsylvania, pound for pound. And I don't mean that negatively. It's a unique community. There's high standards for athletes and everything. When you're a high school kid, you're expected to win. You're expected to conduct yourself right. And what was that like growing up in Monaca, knowing that you were held to that highest standard?
Oh, I was so fortunate to grow up in Monaca, and everything that we did, the high standards were expected, whether it be in the classroom or on the football field or any field that we took. I think we were small but mighty. We weren't afraid of any challenge, and that's what I take on a day-to-day basis. We're up to the challenge. We may be outmanned, but we're going to go and fight our hardest.
Do you miss Monaca?
I don't. I love the merger.
Did you? Did you really?
I loved the merger. I think it provided so many more opportunities, and it obviously worked.
Yeah,
I
it
think
sure has.
There's absolutely a lot of Monaca influence, but I love Central Valley. My wife's a teacher there, so
oh, wow.
She didn't pay me to say that.
Does she want to go to the Elton John concert so I can do your game in week?
I don't know about that one.
But Tony, and that brings me to my next point. I mean, the merger obviously was great, and and they were very good when they were individual high schools, Center and Monaca, and maybe the point I'm going to make might be a little stretched, but the thinking out there is that Center had those good athletes and Monaca brought the toughness, the kid on the street corner who's going to bully you. Well, when you have a guy like Sean Fitzsimmons, I mean, he was a bully, but he was an athlete also. He's at Pitt now for a reason, and with that combination, it just seems like they meshed early on. I mean, it's easy to say that when Mark Lyons had guys like Jordan Whitehead and Robert Foster who went to the NFL. But look what they're doing now. They're winning more games than ever, albeit with some very good players. They had Fitzsimmons, Landon Alexander, just to name a couple. But I mean, this team, 28 wins in a row, and I know you got to be proud. And I guess how many people, maybe some diehards would say, oh, no, we wanted our identity. But I'd say 90% of the community says, hey, you win 2 state championships and a flock of WPIL titles. I think we can live with maybe sharing that identity.
I think no one can argue that the merger didn't work. Early on, it was so cool to see just 2 teams melding quickly, winning that WPIL championship the first year. I think a lot of the practices in those early years were as competitive as some of the games that we played, and that's something that Coach Lyons and his staff have continued. The practices are high-paced. He demands a lot from not only his players but his staff. He gets them prepared, and it's not just we have the athletes and roll the ball out. They really develop the talent and get the talent to buy in at an early age. That's why you have 75 kids on the roster coming out for football.
Well, you're trying to keep that tradition going at New Brighton. I mean, they've had a lot of successful years. Last year, beating an undefeated team in Washington, and you took it on the chin early, and maybe you're going to take it on the chin a couple more times before this season's over. But I know you have goals in place, Coach. And I know that you're going to work very, very hard, you and your staff and your program, to try to make sure that the Crimson and Gold is going to be somebody that people are going to note later on, if not this year, certainly in the years to come.
Yeah, and that's something I stress as even to our youth coaches. I'm here for the long haul. I know the challenges that may be ahead of us, but one thing we're going to instill, we're going to compete every single day, and we're going to be fast and aggressive. We're going to make mistakes, but we're not going to shy away from the challenges that may face us.
It's been a quick hour. John, final thoughts with Coach Caltury.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have Joe Grieco there. I think that's a real advantage for you to have a coach, especially one of the good guys in the business, in Joe Grieco, who I know won't ever step his bounds and try to say, well, I did it this way, you should do it this way. And I would imagine that's a resource you could really tap into here in your rookie year as a head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. We talk daily. I bounce ideas off him, and it's not always scheme ideas. It's just, hey, the logistics is something as an assistant coach that you never experienced till now you're in charge of a football budget or running a boosters organization and being the face of fundraisers. So I bounce those ideas off, and I'm very thankful for him. I wish he was around a little more. He's sort of stepped back a little bit. I said, you're welcome anytime. Come watch your practice. Provide the input that you see, because that experience that he has over the last 35 years is invaluable. Yeah.
Tony, best of luck Friday night. Should be an interesting one. New Brighton at Hopewell. You're hoping for your first win. Matt Weiss is hoping to end the losing streak of a dozen games. Somebody's going to get their wish. And good luck Friday night.
I appreciate it, guys.
And thanks for joining us. And that's going to do it for us. Again, our broadcast games Friday night. John will join me at Sarge Albert Stadium as Central Valley tries to win its 29th in a row against a very good Avonworth Antelope club. out of 3A. We'll be on the air at 6:30. At 7 p.m., Mike Azadian and Bruce Fry will have the call from Freedom as the Ambridge Bridgers invade Bulldog territory. And then after the games, of course, the Falcones Moon Township Ford wrap-up show. Saturday night, the opener, Gino DeMarco's 30th year at the helm. We'll be on the air, Bruce Fry and yours truly, at 7 p.m. from College Hill. And that's going to do it for us. We want to thank Pizza Joe's again for their support, and they'll be doing it all year long. Zach Boswell, Matt Durzik, thanks for your help, and we'll see a lot of you guys in the days and weeks ahead. For all of us, Bob Barrickman, good night from 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, 99.3 FM presented by St. Barnabas, and 95.7 FM and Facebook Live. Good night, everyone.